little bit. I said it for 7:35 because I wasn't sure, so we're 2 minutes early to the show.
Yeah, we're always a little bit late, but a little bit early. Somehow we managed to do both. So did you tweet our liveness or no?
No, I have not yet, but I will.
I did it earlier. So
I'll just piggyback off yours.
There you go.
Do you guys have a link that'll show up on Facebook?
I did it earlier. Yes.
Yep. Okay, I'll share that too.
Yep. So you're gonna have to pronounce all your book titles because.
So for Heirs of Isildur, just think about a seal walking through a door. Heirs of Isildur.
Isildur. Okay, because I was going to get that totally wrong. So I'm glad you differentiated that.
Oh yeah.
And if you look on the left side with comments, you'll see people starting to come in. Hi, Fred. Hey, Eva. Hey, Jamie. What's up? So apparently I'm the only one doing the steampunk thing, but they wore their cool shirts.
Well, I can fix that for you. Let me just you know what? Give me a second. I'll be right back.
I need a hat.
Right back.
He'll top hat it up. He's got
top hat. That's what I need. I need a top hat. I originally did this cool ponytail earlier and I hated it. And then I did a regular ponytail and hated that. So now it's just this. So
I was just telling him, I'm like, I need to get on StreamYard before it starts so that I can see what the lighting is like and adjust anything.
Yep. That's usually why we check in a little early too.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Beastmaster, how are you guys doing? Nice for you guys to join us tonight. We appreciate it.
I'll be like Optimus Prime. Transformers.
There we
go.
There we go.
See, now you're recognizable.
Man. All right, just tweeted something out and tagged all of you guys.
Awesome. I will check that.
Red's in the chat, Ava.
Retweet.
I say Jamie's early today. He's listening on the drive home.
Jamie is early. Yeah, I know. This is way early for him.
Chuck. Hopefully he doesn't have any rum in the car with him. It's closed in a closed container.
Hello, Speedway. So it's good to see you guys. So we're cheering for the Bolts, everyone, right? Yeah, Lightning. Go Lightning. They pulled out something special last night.
After the other night where they got completely obliterated, I was like, wow, this is not good. But then again, I'm a Miami Heat fan, and they had some of the most pathetic games in the East Championship. So I'm like, who knows what can happen.
That's true. That is very true. It's not over till it's over. So, hey, Alexa, how are you?
I had to watch my Hurricanes lose to the Rangers. Sad.
Sharing the link here.
Thanks. Yeah, if you guys are in here and you feel like sharing the link, that's helpful. Hello, cool, awesome dude. So we will get started shortly as soon as we get enough people in here. Hello, AB Twitch. How are you doing? Nice to see you again.
All right, I got it shared. We have it shared on Facebook as well.
Awesome.
I sent out a tweet, so we're good there.
Okay. So
awesome.
Okay.
So Steph, where in Cali are you?
I'm Central California, so I'm in between Fresno and Bakersfield.
Okay.
So I'm like smack in the middle of the state, right? 3 hours from LA and 2.5 from LA, 3 from San Francisco.
Okay. That's sort of where my dad lived. He worked in that area.
Okay. So. Yeah. There's a whole lot of nothingness here.
But
I'm in Florida. I'm in Florida, every 4 to 8 weeks usually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's like the second home.
Wow. So Florida to California, what is your opinion? As far as what do you like? What do you not like?
Well, the humidity is tough to get used to. I'm still trying to get used to it, especially when I need to do my runs there in Florida. It's like, well, I can either get up in the middle of the night or do it really late at night. There's no other option.
Yep.
But yeah, no, the goal is to be there someday. It's a little expensive here. So, and I happen to live in one of the areas that is the worst air quality in the country. Actually, probably in the world. no exaggeration, because all the smog from LA and San Francisco collects in our little bowl, and then we have a lot of agriculture here, so there's a lot of pesticides in the air all the time, and I have asthma. So I've actually been told by doctors you should not live here. It's not gonna, it's no good for you. So yeah, it's a higher cancer rates here because of all the pesticides that they spray. It's kind of, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, anytime that the news, they do like a report every year, I guess, of like the worst air quality, and it's us, and then it's like Beijing.
Yeah, and Mexico City, right?
Yes, it's insane.
Yeah, it was crazy when we first started talking about air quality, and I was like, there's people that leave your area to go to LA to get better air. And like, as a Floridian, I'm like, that just doesn't even make any sense that you could be in the US and there's any place that's going to be like, LA is a sanctuary and a reprieve from how bad it is where I live.
I know. I thought it would be hard to breathe here with the humidity and the heat, but I didn't realize it was, sea salt air, and it's actually not terribly awful other than the allergy stuff.
Better for you.
Yeah.
It's a lot better for your skin than the pesticides too, probably.
Oh my gosh! I take for granted how dry it is here, and I don't realize until I'm there for longer stretches of time, and then I come back here, and my skin doesn't know what to do. It's like, it's a stark difference. But everything is very green in Florida. I come back here, and it's just brown because it never rains, so it's very different terrain.
Awesome. I think we have enough. Hi, Allie. Hey, Chris. Hi, Kenny. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. I think we have enough to actually get started. So should we?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Do it.
All right, let's do it. Hi and welcome. I'm April Hunter, your host, my co-host Colin Weissung, and we have steampunk and medieval comic creators with us, Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hey, how you guys
Thank
doing
you guys
tonight?
for having us.
So I look forward to picking your brain tonight. So please tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you got started. Tell us about you.
So my name is Matt Knowles. I am one half of Insymmetry Creations with that person over there. I always point the wrong direction when I'm on a live stream, so I just do that. I've been a content creator, a musician for most of my life, and I got into doing comics when I had stepped away from music for quite a while, and I was like, I want to get back into writing, but I don't want it to just be music. I wanted there to be stories alongside of it. And so I got back into writing music, and there was a little more story that I wanted to tell. And a couple songs turned into an ebook, turned into a full illustrated novel and an album. And I put out the first album for Heirs of Isildur, which I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot tonight. And very shortly into that, I met this person online on January 30th, 2018, who also was a comic creator. And one of the things that I like to say is we both were already doing our thing, and we both were very confident in what we wanted to do. But it was very quickly, very early on, we're like, hey, there's a lot of things I thought I knew that I don't have a clue about. And this other person absolutely knows the thing and has the thing that I need to be able to do what I really want to do. And so that's how the two of us meshed. And I'll let Steph tell the other side of that story really quick, and then we can kind of get into the rest of the stuff.
Well, I'm Steph Cannon, and I'm the other half of Insym. As Matt was saying, when we met, we kind of were both, I'd only been doing comics for maybe about a year and a half or so. Mm-hmm. I've wanted to be a writer since I was a kid. I mean, if you look back, I think I have things from when I was 10 where it says, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said writer. So I did the stay-at-home mom thing for a while. I was taking care of my kids. And when they got old enough, I started thinking, you know what, I kind of want to do something for myself. There's a lot of things that I want to do and a lot of dreams that I have that I don't want to go to the wayside, getting lost in the fray a little bit. So I thought, you know what, now's the time to pick up writing again. And I learned how to write comics. I kind of got into comics late teens, early 20s, and I realized that a lot of the stories I was envisioning, I was kind of seeing in movie form or comic form. And so I took about 6 months to learn how to write comic scripts, because there's a method to it to get it to where your artists are going to know what to draw for you. And I came across an online comics competition, and they had entry for a one-page comic, and mine was a finalist in that, and that's sort of what led to Matt and I meeting. I had like art from the comic in like, I think, my cover photo for Facebook, and we happened to comment on the same post, and and so the rest is history.
No, that's awesome. So do you both do illustration and writing, or is somebody more of an artist and somebody's more of a writer?
Neither one of us can draw a
Yeah,
lick.
not at all.
So we are both writers. We are both creators. We both have other things that we do. Steph also does a lot of editing. I do lettering and art direction, but we've got artists from all over the world that have worked with us. Right now, the two main titles we have, one of the artists is from India. The other title has got an art team from Brazil, but we've had guys from Guatemala, Indonesia, people from the US that have all worked with us at different times. And it's neat because you get to see different people's interpretations of the things that you write, and it kind of keeps us on our toes when it comes to scripts, because we kind of laugh, because if you look at the two books we're working on mainly right now, if we switched the artists and we had the artists from Misfitz Clubhouse working on Heirs of Isildur and vice versa, we'd have to construct our scripts entirely different, because the artist for Misfits likes things a certain way. He wants to draw it a certain way. He wants to have a certain number of panels. He wants to have a certain amount of freedom or direction. And it's the same thing in reverse for the Heirs of Isildur artists. So we have to make sure that we're writing our scripts in a way that these guys are going to understand it and work to their strengths. Because if you've got an artist that likes to do, say, 3 panels on a page, and you're giving them 8 panels, they might hit that pothole, and vice versa. If you've got a guy that wants to do 8 panels and you're giving them 3, then you're going to get some weird interpretations of what you do. So it's kept us on our toes in that respect.
Yeah, I actually took a comics class. It was part of my degree program at Full Sail University, and it was the hardest class I took in the entire program. And I failed the lettering. That was a big fail for me. So you say you do lettering. Lettering is like an art unto itself.
It really is.
Yeah.
I had
really
no idea. I don't think people appreciate
No.
how difficult lettering is, and how, people just read it and don't think anything of it. And lettering in comics is an extreme skill.
Well, that's one of the things that, how we said at the beginning, where that we realized the other person had a lot of the skills that we were deficient in. For me, like I said, I come from a music background, and writing lyrics is very poetic, and you're big and wordy and verbose, and you want to make sure that you're expressing everything in your words. And for comics, it's show, don't tell. So it was a very big transition for me that was very bumpy and very rocky. And it took Steph to be like, listen, if you want to, and she would say it in a very eloquent way, very nice. But the point of it was, if you want to be a comic writer, you need to learn how to write a comic, not an illustrated novel where you have words on one page and pictures beside it. If you're going to call it a comic, it needs to resemble the things that people want in a comic. And like I said, she was very nice about it, but very encouraging to push me to be like, you need to learn how to letter. There's certain things you need to do, certain things you can't do. If you have 50% of the page covered in words, that's not really a comic. You need to let the art be able to speak. Now, granted, the artists at the beginning were not doing enough showing, so there had to be more telling. But as Steph and I have worked and grown in what we're doing, we now feel like we've got that vibe down, where we can do it, and we're making sure that the art is telling a lot more than the words are.
Very cool. I like to ask this question of people who are creatives and that write. Have either of you played Dungeons and Dragons? Does that have anything to do with any of your writings? Has that influenced any of the characters that you've created? Because you find a lot of people, I'm from the improv community, so they do it to, develop characters and that type of stuff. And I see it from the whole aspect, where you're learning writing and social skills and all that other stuff. So was that a base that you guys have of kind of playing those games?
Well, I'd say that was a very good guess. Yeah, I've been a D&D player for half my life at this point now. So cool. Matt's played a couple times, but I'm definitely the D&D player of the duo. It's been in it.
Not me.
I think people DM, so Dungeon Master, the person who runs the game, for people who aren't familiar, I think they have a better advantage at the creativity aspect, because they're the storytellers, and the players are following their lead. But as a player, you still have to create a character, and I've gotten into my characters. I mean, I've created background story, and I think one of the things that D&D has taught me, because I will make a D&D character and I will go into their background and all the things, their childhood and their, you know, everything that shapes them, who they are. And that some of the other players may not ever even hear about that, or it may not even ever come up in the game at all, but I know it, and it affects how I play the character. And I think it's the same for when we're creating characters. And I'll often tell Matt, okay, because he created Heirs of Isildur before I ever came into the picture. And so there are some things that are in his head that I don't know about, even though it's a title that we're currently co-writing together. So there are a lot of times where I'll say, okay, well, this character, you know, what's their childhood? How many siblings do they have? You know, what you got to think about these things, because whenever I create a character, I always make sure that they have that kind of stuff. So yeah, it definitely plays a part for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, you see that in a lot of creative things, and they use that to drive that energy. Now, the cosplay aspect of this, I know you guys kind of dress up, you do the steampunk. Was that something that y'all started to do for Comic-Cons to kind of drum up interest, or was this something that you guys got into kind of naturally, or is this something that you guys did separately on your own, and of course just kind of came together and were doing it?
It was actually something organic that came from the writing. So as I said, I was in a band that toiled in the underground for quite a long time, put out, I think, 5 or 6 CDs, and did one small tour in Europe. And, you know, we were just kind of stuck in that mode. We were right on the cusp of signing a deal with a label out of Germany, and then things fell apart. It was when the labels could not figure out how to monetize MP3s over physical media. So you're talking 2008, 2009. And one of the guys in the band was an original member of the band Camelot, and he had an opportunity to go back and be in Camelot, which is a band he's still in today, Sean Tibbetts. And we're like, dude, you do what you got to do, man. I'm like, shoot, if you can go and be in a band that's one of the biggest power metal bands in the world, then you got to do that. But that was also the catalyst for me to be like, man, I need to step away. It was just the right time. So when I started getting back into writing, I was finding that I was going back to a lot of the unreleased material, stuff that had never been recorded, stuff that was supposed to be on albums that didn't come out. And I found myself taking these old lyrics or old concepts and retooling them and turning them into something new. And I was like, man, that feels just like steampunk, because that's what steampunk is taking something old and making it be futuristic. And I was like, wow, that's kind of an allegory for what this is. So why don't I pick up that aesthetic? I did the black stuff. I've done, you know, the goth and, you know, the big long black trench coats and all that kind of stuff. I was like, my life feels like it's a allegory for steampunk right now. So let's just roll with it. And I got the parts, dressed up as the main character, Michael Isildur, sent it to the first artist, and I said, this is what I want the character to look like. And he drew it just like me. And I'm like, well, this is going to make it super easy for me to be able to cosplay this at shows. And I started doing that ever since. And one of the things I like about steampunk is there's a lot of classiness to it. It's like, you know, I like medieval looks as well, but you can dress medieval and look like a pauper. You can look like, you know, somebody that hasn't taken a shower in a month. And you can't do that in steampunk. Steampunk is classy and jackets and ties and stuff that looks, you know, high class. And so that's why I think that it's something that's kind of stuck. But Steph, you know, I can let her tell from her side. I was like, yeah, you know what, do you want to come do this first show? The first show she came and worked with me, it was a steampunk show. And, you know, she was able to make it out here. And so she's like, hey, if I'm going to go do this show, I've got to get me some stuff. And that's kind of where it started for her.
Cool.
Yeah, and it started very typical steampunk, where it was the corsets and the long skirts. And for me, not Matt. Matt didn't wear any corsets.
These days is perfectly acceptable.
I know.
No one's judging.
And it was a lot of fun when he asked me he said, you know, there's this steampunk show in Florida that I'm going to be a guest at, and I would love some help. And I think it took me 2 seconds to say yes, and, you know, and try to explain to people in my household, hey, I'm going to Florida to this show, and I've never been before. But yeah, so in the beginning, it was a lot of the typical steampunk fare that you usually see. And I realized very quickly, while I loved wearing it and it was cool, it's not very conducive when you're at a show behind a table and you're standing on your feet for 8, 10, 12 hours sometimes in these crazy boots with heels, and you're bending underneath the table to get books out for somebody. And I finally told Matt, I said, hey, we've got to find a way to kind of
streamline it.
Yeah, because it's fine for pics. It looks great in pics. And I do love the steampunk aesthetic. I mean, who can't appreciate beautiful clothing? So yeah, we've evolved it over time. And now if you see pics of us, we still have the goggles. Matt still has a top hat. We'll do, gloves or other pieces that are very steampunky, but we're steamline it. Yes.
Yes, exactly. I like it.
Now we're going for a little bit more wild and crazy look because that fits our personalities. We're fun people. We like to have fun. We like to stand out, and so we've tried to reflect that in our clothing a little bit.
We have a friend of ours named Thurl Hupp who was a cosplayer at Disney, and he was like, I can make anything into steampunk. And if you look him up online, Thurl Hupp, this guy does some of the most insane cosplays ever, and he would make the most flamboyant, wild steampunk cosplays. And we're like, you know what? That's cool. We can do the same thing. Why not follow that inspiration? So if you see us at shows now, half the time we're wearing the same thing. We've literally got shirts or goggles. We have a company named GB Leatherworks that was at the Lake Collecticon show, April.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love your outfits.
They'll do stuff for us so we can go in there. And it's like, you could see Steph at one point in the show, and you could see me at one point in the show. And you're like, if those people aren't, there as a unit, then there is a problem, because they are literally dressed with the same shirt,
wearing the same shirt,
the same goggles, and all that stuff, the same gloves. It's part of the fun, It's
pretty cool. Now, we do have a question here from someone, Winona, in the chat. So basically, steampunk puts a little more of a classier, futuristic spin on medieval. Is that what you were trying to say a little bit there?
Kind of. So the way I always like to word it is, if you think back to what people would say the future was in, say, the 1950s. Oh, the future is going to be flying Edsels and traffic lanes above the streets and all that. Mm-hmm. If you take that mindset and you go back to, say, the 1890s or the Wild West, and you say, if those people were the ones who were going to determine what the 21st century was, how would those people do it? That's, to me, the best way for me to be able to explain somebody's steampunk. If they were the ones that actually got to determine what the future was, how would they say it?
That's very cool.
So you guys have seen The Nevers, right, on HBO?
I haven't actually watched the show, but I know of it. Okay. I've seen the trailers for it.
Yeah, it's an all steampunk, futuristic, sci-fi show, mostly about women kicking ass, all in steampunk and those Victorian boots and corsets. And I can't imagine how their long shooting days must be with
I know.
Hey, the thing that actually got us to both stop wearing boots was we went to Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle in 2019, and we were just there on the floor, just walking around for 4 days. And if you've ever been to Emerald City Comic Con, it is a very, very, very spread out show. Mm-hmm. And we estimated we walked about 7 to 8 miles a day. So over 30 miles over the course of the show, both of us in boots, and I have not put those boots on, I think, one time for a photo shoot ever since then, because I was just like, nope, can't do this crap anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just told nope. My feet are too precious. They've got to be able to run, so I can't ruin them with heels.
Yep. I understand. Actually, I'm nursing. I don't know what the hell. I wrestled this weekend, and my boots were, I don't know if they were a half size too small or something, but the top of my toes feel bruised and it's hurting right now. I think you guys have probably dealt with that too after the end of Comic-Cons. Like you just have the long Comic-Con and the bad boots. Oh yeah. And you get home, your feet hurt, but then you take your boots off and you realize, wow, they really, really, really hurt.
Yeah.
So big time.
It's like you're this stabbing pain and the bruised toes, and yeah. So you have my deepest empathy. Yes. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but here's a list of shows and films that started out as comics and graphic novels. 30 Days of Nights, 300, Alien versus Predator, The Crow, Constantine, A History of Violence, The Mask, Men in Black, Road to Perdition, Swamp Thing, Tales from the Crypt, and my personal favorite on the list, Weird Science. So if your books were to be picked up, and we should talk about those, who would you want to play your main characters, say from Heirs of, is it Isildur?
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Heirs of Isildur.
Yes. Because that story is fascinating to me, where he comes, somebody comes back, and then you tell the story better than me.
Okay.
He finds the window and then goes through there. And
so Heirs of Isildur is our steampunk time travel story. The first arc, the Crossroads Conundrum, steampunk time travel. We are now on the Perilous Prospects, which is the brand new arc that is more apocalyptic sci-fi set in the steampunk world. The original arc is a story about a clock and watchmaker named Michael Isildur, who lives in this puritanical town named Shadows Haven. Shadows Haven, you don't step out of line. Everything has to operate exactly as it should. And he is the watchmaker, making sure all the clocks and time in this town works exactly as it should as well. He's highly respected. He wants to continue to hone his craft, but he also wants to find a little more meaning to his life. And he buys this estate, and he is out walking in the forest behind his estate. And as he's walking back, he sees a little glimmer in the bushes near his house, and he goes and investigates, and he finds this hidden door. And he's like, wait, you know what? I need to investigate this thing. And he ends up breaking into it and realizes that there's this hidden laboratory that's been lost to time and decay. And he's like, wait, I'm the creative guy. I can fix anything. So he starts to fix up one of the machines, and it opens up a portal. And this is where you're talking. There's a guy that comes in covered in ice and snow. And the guy, his name is Shiver, tells him, you just saved my life. I was just, out walking in the wilderness because my entire village had been burned down and there was nobody left, no food, no anything. I had to go find something. And he's like, as I was about to freeze to death, this portal opened up. And so I stepped through it, and here I am with you now. And it creates a conundrum for Michael, because he's like, he just helped this guy, and this guy is really making a big deal about the fact that he helped save his life. And he's like, maybe this is my bigger purpose, is to help him and help these other people. Because Shiver's like, there's got to be others out there just like me. Mm-hmm. But on the other side, he's like, I'm the guy that makes sure the time works exactly as it should. I don't want to do anything to potentially jeopardize the timeline. And so the whole first arc, the Crossroads Conundrum, really is the play back and forth and the stakes raising, because with every person that comes through, the stakes raise a little higher. Without spoiling the entire arc, you get to find out a little more about where this laboratory came from, and the people that created it, and why they're no longer around. And we got a lot of fun with that arc. Let's just say that.
I think it's fascinating. Do we have a copy? Do we have a picture of the cover to show it all?
I actually have I got their website pulled up here.
Okay,
I know one of the ones you used on your ad for today has got the 3 different covers.
I grabbed that from your page. And
yeah.
You guys are asking what the show is. It's called The Nevers, and it's on HBO. And this is, highly recommend. If you like time travel and you like steampunk and you like sci-fi, definitely recommend this comic.
Sorry, I really like your webpage. Like, I like the gears, and that's really cool. Like, when I clicked on it and saw that, I was like, wow, it's different. You don't see that.
That's awesome. If you go up to the top, thank you. If you go up to the top and go to the Crossroads Conundrum, that's the first arc in the story. And so that's what we're talking about. There's Michael Isildur. There is Shiver. There's some other characters. I'll let Steph tell you about another aspect of this story, which is the thing that really helped bring her into becoming a fan when we first met, because there's more to the story than just the story arc. The music.
Okay. So as Matt explained earlier, he started off as a musician, and he does metal music. When I met him, he was issue 2 or 3? 2. And he sent me the issues, and he explained to me that there was a musical aspect that went along with it. And I was kind of thinking, because there's a lot of, especially in the comic world, there'll be writers that'll say, well, while you're here's a soundtrack to listen to while reading the comic, but it's more songs that other people have done that are just sort of inspirational that kind of goes along with it. And so I was under the impression it was something like that. And as I was reading the story, there would be sections of it that would say, they would introduce a character and it would say, to learn more about this character, go listen to this song, you know, on YouTube or wherever the case may be. And I thought that was really interesting. And so I went and listened and I realized this is the music that he did. This is him doing the music. So he wrote it, and he wrote music that goes along with the book. And I had never seen anything like that before. And so I was fascinated. I thought that was so cool. And
that is actually unique.
Yeah, it is. And so yeah, we have 2 albums now actually that go along with what we do. And with the first album, Crossroads Conundrum, it was more background information on the characters. And so it was just kind of a deeper look in musically, lyrically, into what these characters have been through before. And so that's metal music was his first love, and we're going to find ways to fit it in. And we that's why we call ourselves Insymmetry Creations. We don't want to just be Insymmetry Comics. Comics is what we do, but it's a part of what we do. And we just want to create.
I like it.
It's like you're creating your own like little metaverse, but it's not like it's like it's an analog metaverse. It's not necessarily digital, per se. We
get really, really meta. There's some stuff we've done that is so meta that we're even like, man, we are ridiculous for even doing that. Our medieval fantasy series, Tales from Nocturnia, as we said, we've got a leatherworker. Like goggles that are on my hat were actually made by the leatherworker, GB Leatherworks, for us. For that series, they actually, for one part, did these big, gigantic dragon masks, because with it being a medieval series, there's dragons in there and whatnot. And
more dragons.
There's these big, huge dragon masks that they made for one of our Kickstarter campaigns. They were pretty successful. People really liked them. We actually have a character that is in the issues that's wearing the dragon mask. So we made sure there was a character wearing the dragon mask that you could actually buy in the real world. But then we went super meta later on, and we made a shot of a medieval market. And without the leatherworkers knowing, we actually put a shop in the, as a little Easter egg, put a shop in the medieval market with one of them standing there selling the dragon masks in the medieval shop. So we made it go super meta for those guys.
That's really cool. That's cool.
That's smart marketing right there. Really smart.
April, I had a question on my head, and I can't remember it right now, so I'm drawing a blank.
You can do it.
No, I know.
Do it.
It was a question about
metal music marketing.
Yeah, the marketing. That's right, Kickstarter.
Okay,
so for something like this, for you guys to get, how I guess essential has something like Kickstarter been to getting all of your projects up off the ground and helping you get noticed and that type of thing? Because you hear a lot of indie projects, board games, comic books, stuff like that, using Kickstarter to really jump off. So in your guys' experience, how has that worked for you guys?
I will say we wouldn't be even able to do what we do without having crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is a massive piece of it, because if you're just going to, say, put a comic onto a publisher, or you're going to sell it independently, there's only a certain limit to how much you could possibly think you're ever going to sell. But when you are doing crowdfunding, you can add a whole bunch of different things in there that we've tapped into that can help to add some value, because there's people that want their own special collectibles. We want the foil cover that you only print 50 of. We want to be drawn into the comic. And that's something that Steph and I have so much fun with, when we're like, oh crap, we just had a half a dozen people that want to get drawn into this comic. And we're not just like, oh, here's April Hunter's face, here's Colin's face. We're like, we give them the ability to actually get drawn into and be an actual character.
That's so cool.
And sometimes there's times we don't even know who their character is going to be. And we're like, how are we going to, who is this character even going to be? And then sometimes these characters become integral parts of the story by the time the arc gets to the end. So you can do things like that. We've done a lot of leather work. Like we did these dice bags, which are a part of the Heirs of Isildur story that we did with the most recent campaign, and people really gravitated towards those. Trying to find things to make the collectors out there that want stuff new and unique have the ability to go out there and really invest in your product has been massive, massive, massive for us.
Yeah, that
Someone
might
just
that
Oh,
might
sorry.
be the next thing for you to do, Steph, is like an Heirs of Isildur like D&D style game, something where you guys can sit
Yeah.
down and board
We've-
game it at night. Yeah, that would be cool.
We've absolutely talked about it. We want to tap into that market because it's huge. It's so crazy.
Mhm.
And tabletop gaming too is insane on Kickstarter. I mean, these people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars on their tabletop games. So we absolutely want to tap into the market. In fact, we actually started doing research probably, I'd say about a year and a half ago on just how to do that. So it's definitely a plan that we would like to do eventually.
Yeah, it's
So-
COVID killed a lot of that because I know
Yeah.
our big game store around here, Magic kept it afloat and D&D kept it afloat, and when it was down for a year and a half, it ended up going out of business.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, that's So on your Kickstarter, somebody who donates, could they get one of those cool T-shirts like you're wearing right now? Because it's very
Absolutely.
sparkly. What is that? What am I seeing right there?
So what you're seeing here, this is actually a foil shirt, and this is actually one of the icons for the Perilous Prospects. With in that arc, this is when we say it's apocalyptic sci-fi set in a steampunk world. There was some stuff has happened in the town of Shadows Haven. Some accidents have happened, and then some stuff has brought about the apocalypse, and things that are normal in time are starting to change a little bit. And one of them is this icon, which you can't really tell because of the foil and it shines off it so much. And this has actually got a 13 o'clock clock in the middle. So there's actually 13 numbers on it. And it's just foil. There's actually two different versions of these. This is actually, we call it the fire version because as you see, it kind of reflects, red, orange, and yellow. Yeah. And there's an ice version, which reflects.
Because there must be an ice, right? Okay.
Yeah. The one thing about it though, is we try to tell people that these are not normal run-of-the-mill, go cut your grass in these t-shirts. You need to turn them inside out, wash them on gentle, hang it dry. If not, you're going to be sad with the condition of your foil. It's just like you don't go dry clean, a silk. I mean, you don't go, wash a silk skirt. You want to make sure that you are taking care of your delicates. These shirts, even though it's a shirt, the foil is delicate. But yes, we absolutely have these, and that we're going to list them on our website, on our web store. Probably within the next week or two. We have a couple of really, really cool things that are going to be getting into our hands in the next week or two that we'll be listing, and we'll get these shirts up there then as well.
Now with the comics for Heirs, what is the age appropriateness you would say for that? Would that be like a young teen and going up? Because you guys have a little bit of something for everything, right? Like you've got a little bit for the family, you've got the Misfits, which we'll talk about here in a second, but kind of what would you say getting your kids started on? Because they could go from the Misfits and then go right into Heirs and still just be a part of the Insymmetry family.
Yeah, the great thing about Heirs that we like to tell people, especially when we're at a show and they come up to our table and they know nothing about the story and their kids are with them, is we say everything that we do, there's no curse words, there's no gratuity. In our medieval title, Tales from Nocturnia, it's a medieval story. So there's going to be some violence, some medieval style violence. With Heirs, it's all the characters deal with heavy subject matter, heavy details of their lives, but it's not anything that I actually feel like it's important for younger people to read, because these are all people who have struggles in their lives and have overcome them or in the process of overcoming them. So I think T for Teen is great just because it's a little bit more of a cerebral story, but even your younger tweens could get some enjoyment out of it. Yeah, we've got kids, so we want to make sure that what we're writing we can put out,
Yeah. But it's definitely, the stuff that we write is also not designed to talk down to people. Even Misfitz Clubhouse, we don't want anybody to ever look at our titles and go, this title is too young for me or it's too old for me. We want anybody across the board to be able to say, hey, I can sit down and read this and enjoy it. April, I know you said that your friend has been enjoying the Crossroads Conundrum book. And as that book goes on, she is going to see that it gets straight bonkers. The first half is a lot of character setup. The second half, she's probably going to be going, what the heck is this crap? This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. Because we really start throwing some big twists that make you want to go back and reread from the beginning and go, oh, now that I know this knowledge, Now I can go back and look at the beginning, and it's going to play out in a whole different light. That's what we want. We want people to feel like that they are. We don't want to say challenged because the vocabulary is big. We want to feel like they're challenged because there's actually a story there that has got some meat to it. And we take very seriously that anytime somebody comes to our table or goes to our website and purchases something from us, they're investing in us. They don't have to spend their time on us. They don't have to spend their money on us. And we take that very seriously. So we want to make sure that when they pick up our book or they listen to our music or they get one of our pieces of merchandise, that they look at it or read it and go, hey, this was money well spent. I didn't just waste it because, Colin is a nice guy and he's got this thing at his table, but I picked it up and it looks like it was drawn by a 5-year-old and the story is based. I'm not Colin. If you have a book that looks like it's drawn by a 5-year-old and it's based.
I let my 5-year-old draw it. Yeah.
It's all good. But we want people to feel like that they've gotten themselves some good, solid entertainment from what we do.
That's real. I like how you have everything interconnected. Like the things they get for the Kickstarter are interconnected with the story. You do the music that's interconnected with the story. Like I like the whole universe building that you have going on, and it's not just in the world of the comics. They can hold, like you said, the dice bag. They can hold that dragon mask. Like they actually have things that they can correlate with their the comics and stories that they're reading. Now, what gets you guys into writing kids books? Switching the gears into doing like Misfitz Clubhouse, because I have this pulled up on your website, and these covers look amazing. I like these covers.
So do you want to tell them how we got into Misfit stuff?
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet of, I think it's 28 or so story ideas that are just kind of, if we're talking and we'll say, hey, that sounds like we could totally do that. We'll write it down because you never know. It's just kind of there. And so there was everything from horror to drama to kind of kids stories. We didn't want to limit ourselves into what we write. And so we had a lot of different subjects there. Richard Rivera is the head of Scoot, which is the all ages imprint at Scout Comics. Scout Comics is a pretty large independent comic publisher, and they're actually based in Florida. They're out of Fort Myers. And Richard's a good friend of ours. And he, we've just talking amongst creators, and just, it kind of came in a very organic way where he said, I think you guys have something here with one of these ideas. And the original idea that we had is not at all what we ended up with, but that's just sort of how it goes with writing sometimes. But the original intent was that Richard was doing kind of like a magazine style. It's called Frontiers. And the way that I like to describe it to people is, if you ever knew what Highlights for Kids was, you'd see them in like doctors' offices. That's essentially what it is. It's a bunch of short comics, and then there's puzzles and games and different activities that kids can do. That was his idea, kind of to launch Scoot. It was a newer imprint. And he said, I would love for you guys to have a short story in that. So we started with that, and then said, you know what, we've got a lot of stories to tell about these kids, and we would love the chance to do that. And so it just all came together. Yeah,
and it started off with like, oh, you were just going to be a feature in Frontiers magazine, and immediately, as soon as you released the first little 4-page story, which is called "I Don't Want Any Asparagus," and we wanted to just make a big deal about. I mean, think about how to a little kid, how the smallest things are such a big deal. Yeah. And Miki, who is the little girl in the story, her mom's making asparagus, and she like her world is going to be over. Oh my gosh, I can't believe mom's going to make me eat asparagus. And she's talking about how much she hates it, and if she was a pirate, she'd make it walk the plank. And if it was if the asparagus factory was burning, she wouldn't put it out. Just all kinds of fun stuff like this. And it's just how her friends kind of got her off the ledge, and they're like, it's okay, Miki, you should, it's no big deal. And then she's like, hey guys, thanks for letting me do it there, for getting me down off of that, being so crazy. And then she's like, she leaves, comes back a couple minutes later. She's like, guys, guess what? I got great news. My mom said there's enough for everybody. And then you see all three of the boys are like, oh crap, what do we get ourselves into? And
spoiler alert.
There's just a little 4-page intro to the kids. And it was so well received that we decided to fast track going straight to doing the singular issues. So we kickstarted the first issue, and then Scout put out their version of the debut issue as well. And what we did for the first one was The version that we kickstarted has got an exclusive story that currently is only available in the Kickstarter version. So if you get the Kickstarter version and then you get the version from Scout, then you're going to be able to get all the little short stories that are in there. After this, we're going to simplify it because it got far too complicated for which story was going to go where. Is it going to go in Frontiers? Is it going to go here? Going to go there? And it was like, brains were getting tied into spaghetti trying to figure out all the different pathways. But the next issue of Misfitz Clubhouse is going to be all what you get on Kickstarter is going to be the same thing you get through distribution in the comic stores around the country.
The art style, I could see it on like Cartoon Network or like a Disney Junior or something like that. Like I could see it being animated into a TV show just looking at your covers and the art style and everything.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, Raheel is an amazing artist, and the funny thing is Raheel was already working on a title at Scoot, and a lot of times in comics, artists will work on multiple titles. And Richard was like, I think that because they always will try to pair up the right artists with the right writers. And Richard was like, I think that this guy over here, Raheel, is the right guy for you. We didn't go out and pursue him. Mm-hmm. Richard was like, I think you guys need to work together because I know you and I know him. I think you guys are going to work together. And he was absolutely right, because Raheel is a super cool guy. He thinks on the same lines that Steph and I do. So there's times that we think we're like, oh, this is totally crazy, and we're really pushing the envelope. And then Raheel will come back with ideas on the script and put little notes. What if I do this here? What if I do this there? We're like, dude, this one over here is cool, but this one here, we need to pull you back in a little bit because now you're getting crazy. Now you're getting a little bit crazy, or too crazy for us, but now we've really got a fun dynamic with him. He draws some super silly stuff that we wouldn't even come up with on our own, which is great.
One of the best things about as a comic writer working with an artist is when they take an idea that you have and they somehow make it better or in a way that you hadn't even pictured. And you're like, you know what? I like that better. He'll put little Easter eggs in. And it's just, I love when we get art from him because we're always just laughing gleefully at just how he imagined it. And so it's just great. It's so much fun.
And Raheel is also from India. So there's times when culturally there's things you take for granted that you just have no idea aren't a part of other cultures. And one of the main stories for Misfits is called Pinball Madness, where the kids get trapped in a pinball machine and they have to play their way out from inside the machine. And Raheel had never played a pinball machine. He knew nothing about pinball machines because he's from Bangalore. So we had to go back to the very beginning, like what is the introductory 101 class to what are the things in a pinball machine? Here's bumpers and flippers and lights, and here's the mechanics. I had to really teach him. So it was neat seeing how his imagination with this limited knowledge of it would spin what a pinball machine was. And the things that were important to him were things that we were like, wow, we never even would have imagined that in a pinball machine. And that's great because it just made it more realistic and humanized it.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. Do you guys feel like it's easier to write in a team rather than by yourselves? It's like you get more done, more creative, I guess. You can bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
Like what is your process? What is your process?
For us, it definitely is. And it's kind of interesting because in comics, you don't see a lot of writing duos. People will sometimes team up for a short project and co-write it together. Yeah. But the thing that I explain to a lot of people, because we hear from a lot of other comic writers, like, how do you guys do that? And I said, well, comics is really the only place other than prose writing where there's only one writer. If you look at television shows and movies, there's a whole room full of writers. There's a team full of writers. Yeah. That's how they get it. There's writers' rooms where you go into a room, you sit down, you throw ideas together. That doesn't just, that doesn't come out of one person's brain. And that's usually how these things work. So we treat it like that. That's how it works for us. It works really well. And we're just kind of at a different level as far as working well together. Because it's co-writing can be hard sometimes. Mm-hmm. But when we work together every day on video chat, doing these ideas. And
is that what you guys have a certain time that you guys catch up every day? Is that what happens?
It's literally, it's like sitting in an office every day for like 7 hours, 8 hours. That's what we do.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, one of the things too, I think people sometimes have a misconception about what co-writing is. They're like, oh, so do you write a line and then Steph writes a line and then you write the next line? And it's like, no, a lot of times one person has an idea or a vibe that they're rolling with, and the other person is just kind of helping to make sure that that idea is one, channeled into the right direction, and you're like knocking off the gruff, the extra like stuff that doesn't need to be there, and then also inputting ideas to help add the flavor. Tales from Nocturnia is a great example. There are a lot of relationships within some of the characters that are in that medieval story that Steph was a big proponent of, that she was like, in medieval stories, you have to have familial relations. You're not going to have a kingdom that doesn't have brothers and sisters, or siblings that are feuding, or different things like that. And she's like, if you don't have that in a medieval story, it's not realistic, because these kingdoms back then were all very interrelated. And if you go in there, I don't think that there's a whole lot of the familial relations in Tales from Nocturnia that didn't come from Steph's mind. And, the way we like to look at it is, we always say when we write, it's 100% 50-50, because if April, if you've got a cup of water and Colin, you have a cup of water, it doesn't matter how much water was in each one to start. When you both pour that cup into the same bucket, you can't go and separate that water back out. It's both in there, and both of it was used to fill that bucket up. So we don't waste our time worrying about, was it my thing or was it her thing? It's, hey, we're contributing to this overall, regardless of if, say a scene, I've got the vibe and I'm really contributing the ideas here, and Steph's throwing some ideas in, or it's vice versa, where she's got the vibe and I'm the one throwing the ideas in. In the end, it took both of us and both of our creativity to get that story to the end game, and that's what our ultimate goal is. That's what we stay focused on, not as much the details of how we got there.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous. I want a writing partner so badly.
It fits our personalities so well, and it just the type
that
of
sounds
people that we are.
amazing.
It is amazing. And we're traveling together, we're going to shows together, and so it's not for everybody. There's some people who are like, no, it's my idea and I don't want anybody to mess with it, and that's okay too. But for us and the type of people that we are, this is definitely what works.
I'm okay to share as long as the idea gets better.
Well, I can tell you one of the things that was interesting for us was, as Steph had said, I wrote the initial draft of Heirs of Isildur, the Crossroads Conundrum, and was starting to actually get it out the door before she and I even met. The first arc was 11 issues that we then turned into the book that your friend purchased at Lake Collecticon. I already had notes for the sequel arcs in 2017. So I already knew that, hey, long-term, these are some of the places I wanted to go. Even though I knew those things, when Steph came into the picture, she and I were constructing all the issues as they were going along to get those 11 issues out. We got to the 11th issue of the Crossroads Conundrum, and Steph was like, hey, there's this thing that there was this plot point in the story that you just kind of abandoned. And part of the reason I abandoned it was artistry. The artist was having a difficult time conveying it, so my brain just kind of got rid of it. She's like, you can't just get rid of this plot point. You've got to find a way to bring it back in. And if she wouldn't have, knocked some sense into me, we would have just left this dangling plot point out there. And it really helped to solve that. And then the other thing is with the Perilous Prospects, I had so many ideas that I didn't know where to start. So I literally opened up the digital note folder, and I'm like, here's all my notes that I have for the Perilous Prospects. I have no idea where to start this thing. Let's figure this out together. Let's figure out which are the arcs that make sense, which are the ones that don't make sense. And not that I would say now, because nobody knows where the Perilous Prospects is really going other than the people that got the first issue. There's probably a good 3 or 4 plot points and story arcs that I thought were going to be big deals in the Perilous Prospects that are not even being used, because Steph was like, that's cool, but if you go that direction, you're going to be doing kind of like The Walking Dead, where they would have those, where they'd have episode 1, and you'd have 4 things happen. Then you would have the next 4 episodes would be one plot point. And you'd have to go over a month till you got back to something in that first episode, and it's just too much. Mm-hmm. And she was like, this one over here, this one over here, this one over here. I mean, it wasn't like one conversation. But over time, she's like, these are the ones that aren't really vibing with me. And it feels like these are not helping the story to be the best story it can be. It's just extraneous. Yes, it's cool, but it's not helping to build this big story that you're really trying to get to. And that helped just as much as writing stuff, that helped because now we have a cohesive story that people can go out and enjoy.
And to add to that a little bit too, because we do many things, Matt is a oh, thank you.
I said, Chuck, I'm borrowing that after you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoy. Matt does panel moderating at a lot of the comic conventions that we go to. And so he is the PA announcer for some of these shows. And he's also doing the celebrity interviews. And with that comes a lot of research. You got to know, you can't, I mean, you know, April, you can't just go and interview somebody and not know anything about them. That's not quite how it works. So we have to do a lot of research on that. And Matt's the one that's doing it. He's got a flair for that. He's very, very good at that. But that's not just his thing. I'm there helping him do the research. It's exhaustive research because if we want these guests, these celebrity guests to feel comfortable with him and be like, okay, this guy actually did his research. He knows his stuff. So I'll do that for him. I also do, I'm a columnist and I am a film reviewer. I do mostly horror films. And,
oh, really?
Yeah. Horror is my jam. Horror is my first love. And so I do, there's 3 different websites that I write for. And I've also done some articles for Fangoria. And so any article that I do, even though those are written by me, goes to Matt. He edits them. He helps polish them up. And so, and it's just a really good, quick process. There's not, getting your work edited can be tough because you're very protective over your work. And sometimes an editor won't quite understand and they'll want to fix something. And you're like, no, this is exactly the way I wanted it. But as a creative, we have to kind of step back. But Matt and I have a process now that he edits my stuff and I get the notes back and it takes me maybe 5 minutes. It's like, okay, cool. That sounds good. It's not, there's no arguing. There's just none of that because we've grown beyond that point, I think.
I mean, because when it comes to those articles, I mean, Steph, she had 2 articles that got released last week, which put her over 50 articles that have actually been released through these different websites. And I don't care if it's my footprint on the articles. I want the articles to be the best they can be because her name is the one that's on the tagline. And if she puts an article out there that's got bad grammar or could be better and somebody was to call her out on it, I would feel like that was my responsibility and I need to take the blame for that because I should have caught that before it got out there. And there hasn't been a time yet where somebody's been like, what kind of incohesive crap is this? And that's good because it means she wrote something really good and it was edited well. And in the long run, all that matters is people enjoyed the article. And that's why
you have editors. So sometimes it's really hard to step outside of your own work and realize, oh yeah, that's a really muddled sentence. That doesn't make any sense at all. And so we do that for each other too, because if he's heavy into writing a scene for Heirs, I'm going to be the one editing it. And it's just it's just a very, like he said, you can't tell where one begins and the other ends. It's just very intricate.
That's amazing. I mean, that is amazing. I think I've mentioned this on this podcast before, but I do think our schools kind of cripple us in a way because they teach us to work individually. We take our tests individually. They teach us that there's only one answer that's correct. And realistically, as you guys are proving, that working as a team is far more effective.
Yes.
There's more accountability. One person can help the other one, bring them up, support them, encourage them. It just seems to work out better. And we tend to get trained in this solo mentality of, I got to do it all by myself. I can do it by myself. I'll get it done by myself. And I think you guys are a testament to maybe we should look at the success. I mean, I've seen you at the conventions. The booth is gigantic.
Yes.
It is massive. I would not want to break that down or put that out, but it is a huge booth with a lot of books. It is clear that you are putting out a lot of good content and good stuff to read and lots of interesting things there that you need a booth that freaking big. So I think that is a testament to, somebody else who just might have a comic or a table of comics. You take up an entire section of them all.
Well, I will say at the show that we were at, I was only taking up a third of that area, but still it was a third of a big spot. Yeah,
I know.
So what? I mean, I just got back last week. So what was it? Not last week, the weekend before. we did 4 comic store signings in a row because of different delays that are happening, and not just this industry, but everywhere. I mean, you can go on the news and hear about product delays. Paper shortage is a big one right now. And so for comic writers, that's a big one because printers can't print without paper. And so we had that was delayed. And then we had the vinyl for the latest album that we had. And that was very delayed as well, because in the vinyl world, that's just what's going on right now. And then when you pair that with COVID related delays and shipping delays, it just was, we kind of had this thing where all of our products were supposed to come out at different times. They all came out at once, which was fun because then now we get to just really, really advertise a lot of them. So we did 4 comic store signings in a row, 4 days in a row in different parts of Florida. And so I flew out, and so the booth setup is always different. Matt is the mastermind behind that. That's just not an area where my brain quite works. I'm just like, do it and I'll help. That's the way that it works. But the booth was a little bit different each time. But again, it was still, even in a comic shop, we could see people walk in and kind of go like, whoa, what is this?
That's awesome. And somebody asked if I was referring to public schools or all types of schools. I'm speaking from my own experience. I went to public school, so I'm talking about that. I don't know. I could be speaking about all schools. I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely public schools teach us to go it solo. So, matter of fact, we weren't even supposed to be talking to other students most of the time. We got yelled at it. Yep. yelled at for it. So, yeah.
Well, one thing I can say, if we go back to the partner aspect, one of the places that really it helps having a partner is going back to crowdfunding and Kickstarter. And if you've ever done a crowdfunding campaign, it is one of the most enthralling, engaging, exciting, and humiliating and degrading and depressing things all at one time. And
wow. Sounds like wrestling.
It is. It's when you do a crowdfunding campaign, especially like on Kickstarter, where people don't get billed until the end of the campaign. People can increase their pledge, drop their pledge, cancel their pledge without any penalty, there's no issue. So somebody could go and pledge $200 to your campaign and then cancel at the last minute and just really hurt your campaign. But you have to have somebody else that will help you to make sure your highs don't get too high and your lows don't go too low, because both Steph and I at different times in campaigns will have our times where we both will go overboard with our excitement, but then also be like, this person is about to jump off the ledge if somebody didn't help pull them back in. Mm-hmm. And we hear a lot of people that are out there doing it by themselves, and
I can't even imagine.
I would hate it. We've done 7 campaigns. We've raised right about $50,000 on the 7 that we've done. And we have we want to do much larger campaigns. We have a lot of our friends that do that in one campaign. But to do that and go through all those major highs and lows and how to support people, I can't imagine how somebody could do that by themselves. It would make me go crazy, because it's too emotional. When somebody's like, hey, I'm going to back it for $6 and get a PDF, you're like, woohoo, let's go. I'm the king of the world. And then somebody else could drop for $6 and you're like, why does everybody hate me?
Yeah, it's so hard not to take it personally. People have stuff happen. There are life circumstances where you have to go, okay, I have to kind of tighten the belt a little bit, and I have to, cut off these things that are extraneous, and we get it, but you're not always going to hear those stories. And so when someone drops their pledge, you're like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? Do you guys hate me? Everybody hates me.
Man.
Yeah.
That sounds very real. So
yes,
very, very real. You guys should teach a class on, we took a class, it was called Trans Marketing, and it's kind of what you guys are doing, where you said, if you want to learn more about this character, listen to this song. And then you have, your website as your main hub, and you'll have Twitter for each of your characters, and Instagram, and a Google phone number. Call this Google phone number, listen to voicemail from, for a message from somebody from Tales of Nocturnia. So that's technically called trans marketing. And you guys should teach a class on it, because it would teach other people how to get their whatever out there, their product out there, their themselves out there.
It's interesting that you say that, because just a few weeks ago, Steph brought a thought to me. She's like, at what point do you think that we are going to be ready to start doing exactly what you just said? And so that is definitely something that is definitely something that's in our thoughts that, you know, in our, I don't want to say in our short term, it might be in our midterm plans.
Class even.
Yeah, that we definitely want to look towards that, because one of the things that helped us when we're starting to get into Kickstarter, we had a lot of our friends that were doing it that gave us invaluable information and advice, and went way over and above what they needed to do for us to help us get on our feet. And we've been doing some of the same thing. There was a couple of girls in California, a couple high school age girls, college age girls that met up with Steph and have got a wealth of talent, but had no idea where to really start. And so it started with the conversations with Steph, where she was helping to do the same thing, pay it forward to these girls and help them to get on their feet. And once they do, you're going to hear their names, because their names are Chess and Gwyn. And when they get their anime and their mangas out there, they're going to be stars. They are, there are some serious diamonds in the rough. So yeah, we definitely want to be able to pass along the stuff that we've learned, and we have a long way to go to feel like we're going to have the right information to give to that next set of people. But maybe an intro 101 class, sure.
There's there's a big market for that. You'd be amazed at the, you know, people use YouTube for everything. So like you want to market on Twitch, there's people that teach classes on Twitch and teach classes how to YouTube. And so like for somebody like those kids starting out, like they go to Google, which everybody's using that nowadays. They type in, you know, how to start a comic book, and your guys' video is the first one that pops up. You know, you can be the one that really starts that movement. That's really cool, and give back to younger comic book writers. Have y'all ever thought about getting involved in like the public schools, or helping out in schools with like writing seminars or donating comic books, or, you know, doing that type of stuff to get in with possible art students, or, you know, kids just, you know, from elementary school all the way up through high school or college?
Yeah, I've actually had the opportunity to do it one time. I have a friend who's a teacher at a local school, high school, and they have a day where they just do different kind of like labs in a sense. And so one of the fun classes that they were teaching was about comics. And so she asked me to come in and talk about the process. And I had the kids, you know, kind of create their own comics. It was a lot of fun. This
Really
was
cool.
This was pre-pandemic, so this was a while. This was like 2019, maybe.
Not 2019, late 2019.
Yeah, and it even had video, brought in Matt via video chat to talk to them at one point in time. But we would love to do that kind of stuff again, and especially now that we have the all ages title, that's something that I can see that we do as the opportunities come up a little bit more.
I know for us in the restaurant industry, I mean, if you reach out to your local public school system, you get in with a few of those people there, that can probably get you an in, you know, even through a librarian or something like that. It'd be worth checking out for you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I know with Richard from Scout and Scoot, he's definitely got some ideas to do some things like that as well. Because one of the neat things about Scoot, we were doing a comic book store signing, and a parent was in there with her kid, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't realize this was actually going to be kid friendly." And we told her, we're like, if you see the Scoot logo on anything, you should feel confident you can put that down in front of any age kid and not be worried about what the content is that's in there, because Richard is very, very big on making sure the content in a Scoot issue isn't even going to have any kind of double entendres where you'd go, I know what you were talking about with that. I know what that double entendre really meant. And it's got the adult Ren and Stimpy kind of humor. He's like, we don't need that in a Scoot title. We need stuff that can be, you know, put into a kid's hands, something that could go into a elementary school, and there would not be anybody that could question the content that's in the book. So definitely have some potential opportunities through that as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I hope to see my kid bringing home one of your books in the future when they're coming back from school.
So where can everybody find all your stuff?
So right now, the best place to go is to insymmetrycreations.com/shop. That is where most of our stuff is. There are a lot of items for Misfitz Clubhouse that are going to be on the Scout Comics store, because Misfitz Clubhouse is published through Scout. So they've got some really cool things up there for Misfitz Clubhouse that we don't even have. They've got shirts and water bottles. And one of the really interesting things they're doing now for collectors is called metal printer plates. For those collectors that are out there, they do offset printing for all of their issues. And so every page is going to have the 4-color separation plate, one for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And they've obtained these from the printer, and now they're putting these out as one-of-one collectibles. So if you've got a 24-page comic, you've now got 96 one-of-a-kind collectibles that are out there, and they're doing this on a lot of their titles. And they do have some Misfitz Clubhouse collectibles out there as well. So if you're someone who's not a comic collector, but you're like, hey, I really like really unique one-of-a-kind collectors, then that's something you might want to do as well. You could go up there and get some of those collectibles. But our titles, Heirs of Isildur, Tales from Nocturnia, the Kickstarter version of Misfitz Clubhouse, the metal albums, all that, you could go to insymmetrycreations.com/shop, and you can get your hands on pretty much anything that we do.
And where are you coming? Are you doing appearances in July? Anywhere?
Right now, we don't have anything in July. We have a few that are out there in the weeds that we're waiting to hear back from. Mm-hmm. We have a couple in August. Right now, the ones that we have that are absolutely lined up are September 17th and 18th. We'll be at
PalmCon.
Actually, I won't be at PalmCon this year. I know you're going to be at PalmCon, which is awesome. I saw
you on there. Okay.
Well, the thing that is unfortunate is we did PalmCon last year. Martin Piero, who runs PalmCon, is one of our closest friends in comics. PalmCon is a super fun show. It's a smaller show, but it's a super fun show. And one of the best things about PalmCon is that Martin really cares about making sure that the vendors leave happy. One of the things that blew us away last year is Martin, who runs Cosmic Times Comics, doesn't even set up his own booth at his own show. Because he's like, I would feel terrible if I had a good day at my own show and one of my vendors that came in had a bad day. He's like, I would feel like I was taking money out of their pockets, and I don't want there to be that problem. So yeah, I'm glad you're going down to PalmCon. We were actually committed to going to PalmCon this year and Ocala Comic Con. But I'm also the PA announcer and the panel host for Ocala Comic Con. We committed last year, and then when the dates for this year came out, they both ended up being on the same date. And so Martin was really cool about it. He understood we couldn't be in two places at the same time. But yeah, we have every intention on being at PalmCon whenever we can.
Awesome. Well, people can check your website for your upcoming appearances where they can page through all your books in person. So
absolutely.
And that's running at the bottom here. So awesome. Thank you for sharing everything with us. Appreciate it very, very much. And to those of you who are on here, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being on our Patreon page, Patreon April, or sorry, I'm like rattling my own thing off. Patreon The A Show. And Colin, do you have anything else to add here?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
You can just pretty much tune in Wednesday, the Ridiculously Random Podcast. April, if you want to come on Wednesday, the invitation is open. We're doing top 5 game show hosts.
Top 5 game show hosts, huh?
Hey, I do want to say something. One of the things that you both have said something today, it's really cool. First, Colin, if Colin was to show you his shirt, I'm a huge NC State Wolfpack fan.
They bonded already over that.
That is an NC State shirt. And April, I can't let this comment kind of go by the wayside. You said your favorite comic turned into a movie.
Oh yeah,
is Weird Science.
Yes.
My favorite movie of all time in my entire life is Weird Science.
I loved that movie. Still love that movie.
No coincidences.
There's no coincidences.
Still love that movie. I didn't know it used to be a comic. So I had no idea. I didn't know some of these used to be comics. I just looked it up because I was like, just curious. And I didn't know that A History of Violence was a comic or a graphic novel. So then I was like, okay, who would play the character based on you from Heirs of Isildur? Who would play the timekeeper, the watchmaker?
I know. I don't know if we've ever really discussed this. I think off the top of my head,
who would be cast for that?
For Michael Isildur, and just roll with me here on a minute with this, Matt. Imagine Tom Hiddleston with long hair and a beard. I feel like he could play a good Michael.
He could.
Yeah.
I think maybe I would say Colin could be Michael and April Hunter could be Merc. No, like I said, that's a tough question. We never really thought about that, which is funny because we would take our IPs into any medium, whether it be a show, whether it be a cartoon, whether it be a video game, whatever it is. So we probably should think about some of those things. I mean, because we've definitely talked about some of those before.
Yeah,
Prose
it'd be a
books.
fun little exercise.
Never really put too much thought into that, but we probably
I feel
should.
like there was something that we were watching once, and I said that guy looks like he could be Shiver, but I don't remember what that was because we watch a lot of stuff together, so I'm not sure what that was. But we do from time to time. We will do that.
Start envisioning who's going to be in the movie and in the video game.
We have.
So I'm looking at the Crossroads conundrum that you have on the website, and I'm just imagining Leo from Django. Maybe you put the top hat on him with the steampunk, let him grow his hair out a little bit, put the beard on him. Leo could probably play the timekeeper.
I could see that. We want to make sure that whenever we do something like that, all the characters are, we like to say age agnostic, because we don't want it to be where somebody's like, oh, that character is 11 or that character is 70. We want anybody who reads it to be like, I could see myself in that role. I could see myself as the timekeeper. I could see myself as Merc. I could see myself as whatever the next character is without spoiling that comes along the line, down the line in the story. Same thing with Tales from Nocturnia. Beninock is an executioner trying to get out of the family business. And we want everybody to be able to look at Beninock and be like, I wonder what I would do if I was in that position, or if I was Marcelise, who's the leader of the Stable Maidens, who is the kick-ass, badass group of females in the Kingdom of Nocturnia. I wonder what I would do if I was in Marcelise's shoes, how I would handle those things, and not feel like just by age that they're eliminated because they're 12 years old and they're like, oh, that character's 50. No, we want everybody to be able to say, oh, they're what's their age range? 20 to 50? I don't know. Whatever you want it to be.
I like that very, very much. So give them sort of a blank slate in a way. So
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we do something at the end of the show. You guys have to join in. It's called peck twitching. We call it Twitch on Twitch.
Peck twitching, huh?
Yes. So everybody leaves. We leave after we twitch. So yep. If you got to flex your muscles. So we're gonna leave with a Twitch on Twitch. Yep. There we go.
Oh no.
She wins every time. There's
I think you won this one already.
All right, ready? Yeah. Come on, you guys. You can do it. Colin cheats all the time.
Cheat all the time. Hands. That's why you can't see the hands. The hands are up under there helping out.
He's just like this. He's like,
we'll do it. I can do them however you want, any kind of beats.
There you go. Oh man. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you guys for having us. It was fun.
Yeah. Anytime. Hopefully you can come back again soon.
Yeah.
Talk some.
Absolutely.
We'd
love to.
Some comics.
We'd love to. Anytime you want us.
Sweet. All right. You guys have a good night. And thanks to all of you who joined us tonight. We'll see you again next Tuesday night, 7:30. So, au revoir.
Good. See you guys.